TikTok time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. Your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D1. And with me, got Sara, a.k.a. Apostate of Allah. How you doing, Sara?
I'm doing good, thank God. How are you guys? How's everybody in the chat? And yeah, good to be here.
Yo, what's up, chat?
What's up?
Yo, chat, where you at? Hey, chat.
Oh, someone blamed me for being late again.
Yeah. Yeah, shame on these ex-Muslims. They're always late. You ever notice that? AP, always late. Sara, always late.
Yeah, no, we're always here on time. They're always early.
Yeah, guys, come on. If we know that there are lots of, if we want Muslims watching and they're always going to be late, then obviously we want to start late, right? Or they'll miss the beginning, which is the most exciting part. Um, hey, so we're going to talk about Ramadan now, and something we don't really talk about is from an ex-Muslim perspective. So there's a couple things there. It's like, what were your thoughts on Ramadan when you're growing up as a Muslim? And it's weird. I think I mentioned this to you before, but when I saw Apostate of Allah, I always, like, for a while, I always assumed that you were someone who reverted to Islam at some point, and then 6 months later you realized that hey, this is just complete nonsense here, and then um, you left it, and then you were now the apostate of Allah and so on. But you actually, we've discussed your whole story in a previous live stream, but I want to give people like the quick version, and then they can check out the longer version if they want, and go to your channel. By the way, got a link to Sara's channel in the description box. But
Yeah.
yeah, give us the crash course for everyone who's new and who missed the first one.
All right. I was born and raised in a Muslim household. I grew up Muslim. A lot of stuff that happened in life didn't really connect it to Islam. I thought this kind of dysfunction was just normal, and then I ended up I guess quickly getting saved in 2016. I was married to a Muslim at the time. 9 months into that marriage, I done got saved, which is really ironic because like it's like that new birth, a woman's pregnant for 9 months, and I'm like here 9 months later, I get saved. So I was like, okay, yeah, the irony of that. And stayed married with him. Like he seemed cool with it for approximately 7 years, and then papers and green cards and stuff like that. It's like it's really difficult for you not to connect the dots. That was done, and then I ended up, yeah, being divorced now. So got saved then. Yeah,
So you were actually married a long time to a Muslim after you left Islam. So even
yeah,
after you left Islam for years, you were still married to a Muslim.
yeah.
And so we'll be jumping into this a little later, but was did he fast for Ramadan faithfully each year and so on?
Well, he attempted. He okay. Every Ramadan, I couldn't like. There was a fight within myself. I was like, I really didn't want him to be fasting Ramadan, but I also didn't want him to not fast Ramadan because I always felt like that I was the blame for all that. So he would fast good for about 2 weeks. All right, 2.5 weeks. And then he would just fall off the wagon and then not continue on fasting.
Couldn't
Yeah.
couldn't continue the cycle of binge eating, right? Just
Yeah.
was too much.
It was,
Was too much.
yeah.
It's funny you bring up the kind of mixed feelings because I noticed that with Nabil. People talk about us starting late and so on for live streams. Nabil was chronically 15 minutes late, but it was weird because he would, like, once you understood the pattern, he was always kind of right on time as far as just being 15 minutes late, right? So
Mhm.
you knew if you said, "Hey, we got to meet at 2," he was right 2:15. He was going to be there, right there, just 2:15. So
Mhm.
he called it Pakistani time. But the first time I ever saw him where he was right on time, where he's like, "Meet me someplace," whatever it was like 5:47 p.m. over at this restaurant and stuff. And all of a sudden, his car comes. I'm there on time, and all of a sudden, his car comes pulling. I was like, "What the heck? He's on time." It's like, "What are you doing on time, man? I've never seen you on time." He goes, "Come on, it's sunset, man. It's sunset. We gotta gotta go grab some stuff." Anyway, um, but no, it was with his mom. It was with his mom, and so she was really interesting because Muslim family, they fasted during Ramadan, but she had like this strong mother instinct where she always wanted to take care of her son, so she would always be pointing out the exceptions. So she'd be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, you're going over to this town today, so you're traveling, so you don't have to fast." Or it'd be, "Up, up, up, you got a slight fever. You're up 2 degrees, so you don't have to fast. You're sick and stuff." And so it was just, I always thought that was kind of funny that she wanted him to be good Muslim, but like, "Oh, my boy, I want my boy to eat. I want my boy to eat. He's already so skinny."
Aw.
Yeah. And let's see here. Someone said Nabil seems like he was awesome. Hey, he's all right. He was okay. He was okay. All right. So
Mhm.
let's get your thoughts because again, it's weird. This should this should be normal during Ramadan, where we ask the ex-Muslims like what they thought about it. Like, did they not like Ramadan when they were growing up? Did they think it was cool? Was it an awesome time? Was it an awesome experience? Or did they not like it and so on? Anyway, we actually want to get to um, sort of what experience was like for an ex-Muslim still having Muslim family and your Muslim family fast during Ramadan, but now you're an ex-Muslim. So we want to get into that. But before we do, like, what was like how devout was your family in terms of like when you're just growing up, like before you ever got married and so on? Did they fast during Ramadan or?
Oh yeah, they fasted. My mother was a nun. You could say None. Growing up, but my father, my grandfather, my uncles, those are like really the family that I was really around. They always fasted Ramadan, and then there was the prayers, and then we always had like these traditions, and then waking up and like doing the morning feast, before the sun rises feast. Yeah, so that happened. What was interesting was I had a friend say it's like maybe to start off the stream, maybe you have should have a few nice things to say about Ramadan. And I sat down and I was like, I really don't have anything good to say about Ramadan. And he was like,
Really?
not even the food? I'm like, you can get the food anytime during the year. You don't need a specific month to eat food. But yeah. But but then I kind of just like right now just thought about it. I was like, no, we we did have like some kind of traditions. It was like, there was like special cartoons at that time. The snap outside, like all of a sudden the Islamic world remembers children exist. So so cartoons were put out. So I guess there was some nice stuff. But yeah. Praying, I used all that stuff during Ramadan.
How is it? Ask how it's different for a girl rather than for a boy because
Mm.
whenever we see, well, here's the thing, there's kind of like two different worlds as far as if I make a video or something like that about Ramadan. um, if I just go to the pictures of like Muslims breaking their fast and so on, it's like it's a bunch of guys. It's a bunch of guys around a bunch of food and stuff like
Mm.
that. Whereas if I'm on like a website for like Shutterstock or something like that for stock photos and stuff. I look up Ramadan. It's just like Thanksgiving, except it's Muslims, but it's just people
Mhm.
gathered around a table and stuff like that. So um, is it different for is which one of those is correct? Is it more just like what we think of as like Thanksgiving, like family get together? I'm guessing
Mhm.
women have to do more as far as like getting the food ready and stuff. But I don't know. I'm guessing that varies between families. What were things like?
I would say the answer is yes. It's both those things are right, and then yeah, the women are the ones that are always cooking, slaving away, getting ready, while the husband will be like at work, or the man will be at work, or let's say they don't work a regular traditional job. All right, let's say they own a business or they drive Uber and whatnot. They're sleeping. But the woman and the daughters are up. They're cooking. They're preparing things. They're doing the cleaning. They're literally going off and slaving away. That's really what ends up happening. And then everybody's now is fat and happy and their stomachs are full, and then you know what ends up happening after that? While dude right now is like with his like gotta unbutton his buttons because he ate too much, after that fast. The daughters, the and the mothers and the wives, they're getting up, making sure tea's done, whoever wants dessert. So there's already there's extra of what they do throughout the rest of the year. That's what it is. And yeah. Mhm.
Um, so it's kind of what I expected, but yeah, I wanted to
Mhm.
ask so we would actually have verification. So just to recap, not terribly fond feelings of towards Ramadan growing up.
No.
It is
And
fun. I have all these I have all these pictures stored in my computer. Like I don't even want to keep posting them, but I'll post them on X. Um, but for some reason, it always ends up this picture of this dude passed out on the floor, passed out on the floor after breaking his fast, and like there's just just all these dishes all over the place and stuff like that. For some reason, there's always a bowl of fruit that's untouched, and then there's all these empty dishes all over, and then the guy's passed out on the floor and stuff. But I can't even keep posting them because people think it's the same picture. It's not, right? It's not.
it's the
It's
same.
like they're completely new pictures of the same thing going on. Uh, Dude with huge belly passed out beside all these trays of food and so on.
And why you gonna eat an apple? Why you gonna eat a piece of fruit? I've been fasting all day. What am I gonna do with an apple? Give me the baklava. This is what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So anyway, plenty of those pictures going around. But so you grow up as a Muslim, slaving away during Ramadan, so that all the men can stuff themselves and not think twice about that. And then you leave Islam, but you're married, and so your husband he kind of peters out after a couple of weeks. Um, but he's a rock. He's a Ramadan rock for about 2 weeks.
Praying and everything, and with loud voice too, to fill the house. You would think over he's religious and he just remembered he's a Muslim. So yeah.
Now, how common is that? How common is that? Like, kind of living. Well, I'm just thinking like, um, is it pretty standard to all of a sudden become like for Muslims to become like more devout during Ramadan?
Oh yeah. I think in my last video, or the video before that, um, I was think like it's like how I just finished saying about him praying with loud voice and whatever. It's like they just suddenly remember that they're Muslim. Like one of the most common thing, it's like if a Muslim man has a girlfriend, he would literally go and tell her, and I'll be like, okay, it's gonna be 30 days now. We can't talk and whatever because right now I have to be religious because I'm Muslim and I'm fasting. Okay, you give up alcohol. You shouldn't be drinking to begin with as a Muslim person. All of a sudden, you give up alcohol for 30 days because you're fasting Ramadan. But here comes Eid now after the 30 days, and all you break. That's it, your celebration, and you go back to your same circle, going round and round and round. Yeah, a lot of them aren't. But during that month, though, I mean, during the rest of the year, like they don't eat pork. There's that. And if you criticize Islam in any way, shape, or form, okay, and they could have had all the zina the night before and all the alcohol the night before, but if you say anything to criticize Muhammad, all hell breaks loose.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I've also noticed this is just my personal experience. Um, One, I'll see all these Muslims bragging about their great manners and stuff. It was just like Times Square. You go in there and like the dude is on the mic and stuff, and it's our great character, and they're jealous of our great character, and they're against us, but we have great character, and this is what's going to convert the world. And then he'll just start saying like super nasty stuff, like, "Hey, you're a Christian, come over here so I can slap you in your face," right? And but I've noticed, it's like on social media interaction and stuff, because I always get Muslims responding to things I say. The anger and hostility and short fuse seem to like be seriously dialed up during Ramadan.
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time they're bragging that they always have great character, but even better character during Ramadan because they're fasting and they're focusing on Allah. And I'm thinking, I say one word about anything to do with this, and you guys flip out, and it's like curse, 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 curse.
Oh, yes. Don't make me break my fast. That's what they would be. There would be two Muslims yelling at each other during Ramadan because they didn't get their coffee or their cigarette. Okay. And they're yelling and cursing at each other. And he's like, don't make me commit kufr and go ahead and break my fast. Because it's going to be on you. And I'm like, this is a problem. This is, if this, because one of the biggest confusions I had even growing up as a Muslim during Ramadan was like, okay, you're told that shaitan is all chained up during the month of Ramadan, right? And then as a kid, and even like later on, like right before, like I end up leaving Islam, like during these Ramadans, um, I'm looking around. I thought shaitan was locked up. Okay, and if it's shaitan that's keeping, if it's the shaitan that's keeping the people from Islam's, like why, if and he's locked up, why aren't people coming? If it's the shaitan that goes inside of your ear and starts telling you to do bad things, why are there Muslims not fasting? So and then you have, and then if the shaitan is locked up, why do you have two Muslim men claiming to have fasted, spent a grand, okay, for 2 days meals ready for their wives to slave away on? Why are you guys cursing each other saying don't cause me to commit kufr and then break my fast? It's the drama, the road rage.
It is weird because no, it's weird because I don't know. Sometimes I like to push people's buttons a little bit, but Ramadan rolls around. I'm just, it's built into my mind. Oh, Ramadan's here. All I have to do is say anything, and here it comes. Here it comes.
Yeah,
Like
you want to
clockwork.
gain thick skin. You want to get thick skin. Get in a car where the driver is a smoker, but he's fasting Ramadan. It builds character.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's extra stuff right there. And so yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. So yeah, Mark here says, have no self control. What's the point of fasting? Like
Mhm.
you can understand if someone's like, deprived of things he normally has and stuff, might be a little more inclined to might get a little agitated here and there, but you'd expect people to like recognize like, oh gosh, I just snapped. Let me go let me take a step back and calm down and stuff like that. Wrong, wrong. Like it really like sometimes I but it'll be because I normally stay up at night, and so it's like this is when a lot of people are kind of up and so on. And I'll say something on X, and then someone will respond, but like they'll argue with me all night long using the harshest language imaginable, and I'm just sitting here thinking, did you just spend the last 5 hours, your entire like Ramadan evening arguing with me using this kind of
Like,
language? Like, is it seriously that easy to provoke you in any way? But yes, it is.
it is very easy to provoke a Muslim man who is a smoker who also hasn't gotten his morning coffee yet. It's extremely easy. So yeah.
Hey, how's that work with the like with the eating, right? With the eating, right? Okay, I'm not going to be eating after, I'm not going to be eating after this time. So let me eat a bunch of food. But then you have that food. But are they like that? Are the smokers like that too? Like, is it like, all right, I got 45
Yes,
seconds left.
yes. Okay, there's a
That
yes.
sort of thing.
Yes, let me go smoke. Okay, I know this also because I used to be, as a Muslim, I also used to smoke cigarettes too. So I kind of get that. So I could also speak from experience in that area. So it's like before the sun rises, or like the very first thing that you go ahead and do. Meanwhile, I did have some kind of no, yeah. So right before the morning prayer call of prayer happens, when they go ahead and pray to their demon in the morning, and if you don't wake up for
You mean
that,
when they
that's
pray to the great God Allah?
if that's what you want to call him. And if you don't get up, you get your, like, the shaitan comes and the jinn pee in your mouth.
Hmm.
Yeah, that prayer. Yeah, that call of prayer. Yeah. You go ahead and you suck that cigarette dry real quick. All right.
That's what I'm saying. See, that's what I was imagining. Just seeing the situation with food. Seeing the situation with food, that's what I would imagine. But now we have the confirmation. Everyone, we got the confirmation. Carry on said they're allowed to smoke, yet not while
Oh, yeah.
not during the fasting part. So hang on, let me just pull this up real quick. They're allowed to smoke. Yeah. So no, no food, no water, no sex, no smoking during the daylight hours, though. Soon as that sun sets, it's party time. It's party time. So let's take these first super chats, and then we're we're gonna want to talk. The emphasis here is on people who are going to be like ex-Muslims and so on, or
Mhm.
people who are new ex-Muslims, or going to be ex-Muslims in the future and so on, who still have Muslim family and so on, and sort of
Mhm.
navigating that kind of situation. Let's see. Dilemma argument against Jesus. Muslims say Allah wouldn't enter creation as it is not within his majesty nature, but Allah puts his foot in hell. Well, it's not just that. It's Allah descends. He descends from the highest heaven to our world so that he can hear prayers. Specifically says he keeps coming down. He keeps coming down to
Hard of
hear.
hearing. He's hard of hearing, poor thing.
Yeah. So Allah's got his various attributes, but hearing he's pretty weak on that one. And you also have Jessica. This is for Muslims who bring this up. It's Allah wouldn't enter his creation. Now, what is that? That's them making something up so they can attack the incarnation. That's them making something up, right? So you have it, Allah putting his foot in. You've got Allah traveling down to us to hear our prayers. You also it's relevant. You have to get a good translation, but it's Surah 27 verses 7 to 9, and it's in the following chapter, Surah 28 as well. But it's a story of Moses and at the burning bush, and so Moses sees a fire over there, and he goes over to check it out and so on, and he sees the the bush isn't consumed and so on. And so he's, hey, what's going on here? And then voice speaks to him and says, blessed is he who is in the fire and those who are around the fire. I am Allah. Moses, I am Allah. So the voice comes out of the fire saying, blessed is he who's in the fire. And then says, I am Allah. It's like, okay, according to the passage, who's in the fire? Who's in the fire? According to the statement, he says, I'm Allah. What's interesting is you have Muslims who, because they want to use this claim against Christianity, that Allah wouldn't enter his creation, you bring this up, they'll say it's an angel. That's why, if you guys remember when we went to Speaker's Corner, you'd have Christians there start chanting, what's the angel's name? What's the angel's name? What's the angel's name? Because if you say that's an angel in the fire, okay, what's the angel's name then? Give us the name. Give us the name of the angel who's in the fire. Why do they ask that? Because whoever's in the fire, he says, I'm Allah. So if you wanted to say what's his name, well, his name, according to him, is Allah. So is that an angel claiming to be Allah? Anyway, the point there is all this stuff about Allah not entering his creation is complete nonsense from an Islamic perspective. I mean, think this: they have a serious problem with God entering creation and like taking on human nature, but according to the Quran, Allah appears in a fire, right? So he'll be in a fire. Can't be in human flesh, but no problem being in a fire. Weird stuff. Just got to make up rules as they go along to attack Christianity. It's a super sticker from Ida. Thanks, Ida. And Ida says, hey, David. And good to finally see you, Sarah.
Hi, good to see you too, Ida.
What do you mean? You can see her anytime you want over on her channel, Apostate of Allah.
Yeah.
Here we have Mark Bark, Kameni, Fafo, stupid games, stupid games, stupid prizes. Forget Quran only Islam. I'm Hadith only, mashallah. We need to start. I hadn't thought of that. We need to start Hadith only Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
And they could be the nemesis of the Quran only Muslims. They're Hadith only. DOC and Sarah are much nicer to look at than dudes with beards. Obviously,
I think give myself a beard. Here we go.
Obviously, talking about AP. You can all agree on that. AP is no fun to look at. Sneeko and Bugatti Tate stopped Ramadan fighting. They did. Did they? They finally stopped?
Didn't Sneeko run away to Medina?
Yeah, like a little... It's funny because you wouldn't think there's anything strange about running to Medina during Ramadan or something, especially if you got, you know, the endless bucks that Sneeko's making. But he actually said it. He's like, I have to get away from all the attacks and everyone attacking me. I'm just going to run to Medina and ignore everything. It's like, what the heck, man? Sneeko got me rooting for him. And they're like, what are you doing backing down from these guys, man? Stand up for yourself, man. Stand up for yourself. You got a huge following. Man. It's war. See, Sneeko still has the non-Muslim idea of Ramadan, where it's this month of self-control and just sitting around focusing on Allah and stuff. And I said, what are you talking about? Muslims like fight wars during Ramadan. And
they throw bombs.
Yeah,
in New York City.
They love jihad. Your good deeds are your rewards for your good deeds are multiplied if it takes place during Ramadan. That's why, I mean, fortunately, it's mellowed out over the years, but we used to call it the Ramadan Bamathon. It was like clockwork. You go back like 2016, 2017. It was bad. It was like, now, you know, Ramadan's fun. I get to, you know, kind of expose Islam during Ramadan and so on. Back then, it was seriously like, gosh, a bunch of people are about to die. A bunch of people are about to die because it's Ramadan. And it would like clockwork. And Glenn over at thereligionofpeace.com, every year he would have a scorecard, Ramadan Bamathon, to respond to all the people who would say, you know, all religions have their radicals. So he would keep a scorecard of people killed by jihadis during Ramadan and people killed in the name of every other ideology combined.
Yeah.
And Islam would just crush it. I mean, would just crush everyone else combined every year, and it wouldn't even be close. It would be like thousands of deaths caused by Islam and like one or two or something like that caused by everyone else, as far as like people who are actually killing for their religion. Weird stuff. Weird stuff. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know if you're saying they made peace here or if it's just they're kind of running and agreeing, okay, we'll handle this later. Have to find out. If dogs are haram, then why do all dogs go to heaven? Checkmate Dawa bros. That's a good point. That is a decisive refutation. D. Wood, what are your thoughts on Mike Winger being exposed for being trained and funded by bin Laden? Did you have any prior knowledge of this deplorable? No, but it's not surprising. None of that is surprising. How long until the Malik of the goofy Sufis will arrive and invite himself in because D. Wood is his Jimmy? Oh, hi, beardless AP.
What do you mean beardless?
The Malik of the goofy Sufis. That's funny. Yeah, we need to do a Malik show. I haven't been hearing much out of Malik anymore. Come on, Malik, man, it's Ramadan. You want to cause drama? You're supposed to do it during Ramadan, man.
Make my cortisol go up.
That's what Sneeko said. He's like, hey, it's bad to be you're not supposed to make my cortisol level go up during Ramadan. It's like, where are you getting this stuff from, man? Again, they fight wars. You don't think their cortisol would shoot up during wars? Total made up stuff. As an ex-Muslim, I want to say I don't miss Ramadan.
Yeah. Ramadan, it's terrible. All the hypocrisy. And it starts from when you're children. Even children are hypocrites. But they learn it from their parents.
That's actually interesting because I didn't know what you were going to say as far as what Ramadan was like growing up as a Muslim. I didn't know if it's going to be like, like people, what like non-Muslims think about like Thanksgiving or something like that, a time of like gathering together with family and stuff like that. I don't know. I see the ex-Muslims.
Nah.
Bunch of hypocrisy. Can't stand it.
Look, the children will be like, oh yeah, because one of the things as a Muslim child, you'll go home after school, right? So for the parent to go ahead and check, they'll ask you, did you fast or did you break your fast? And then you'll answer, it'll be like, yeah, because even if you did break your fast, there's consequences. And if you didn't break it, but either way, you did or didn't, they'll ask you, okay, stick out your tongue. We can tell by your tongue how it looks like if you fasted or not. And it'll be the same thing in school where you have your Muslim friends in school. Mind you, I had a lot of, like, where I'm from, there were a lot of Muslims in school, right? So we would go ahead and like, oh yeah, you're fasting. Let me see your tongue. Let me see this. If you're not fasting, you're going to go to the fire. You better be fasting or you're going to go to the fire. It's the same stuff. So you learn that from your house and you bring it with you when you're outside with your friends. And it's that same nonsense. You're going to go to the fire.
You are confirming every suspicion I had about Ramadan, like the reality of Ramadan. Winter, December, Ramadan, 8-hour fast, not even hard. Oh yeah, that's another interesting thing. Like it varies. Since Ramadan changes every year, you got times when it's super easy, and then times when it's significantly harder, depending on where you're at. Tal Oren from Traveling Clat tweeted, Sneeko is gay. Tate responded, yep, and Muslims commented to him, you agreed with a Zionist Jew. That is funny.
Oh my.
That is funny. So you got Tal from the Traveling Clat. And Tate, yes, that's right. He's actually these are good times. Guys, I know there's all sorts of stuff to look around at the world and go, oh, this really sucks. But if you're looking in the right places, these are pretty awesome times. Allah in Islam just isn't as powerful as shaitan. Allah can't be everywhere like shaitan is.
Yes.
Yeah, I keep wanting to make that video because that's actually interesting that Allah, he always has to travel. He always has to run around, right? He has to run around and move around really quickly to like hear people and things like that. And then they'll say things like, well, he doesn't go to Allah wouldn't be, he's not omnipresent. Like he doesn't even see what's going on in someone's bathroom, for instance. You'll have Muslims who say that sort of thing. And yet Satan touches every child born into the world
Hmm.
except Jesus. Couldn't touch Jesus, and according to another hadith, couldn't touch Jesus or Mary. Interesting point, guys. Not gonna spoil too much about tomorrow, but tomorrow going to be on with Mary Harp, and we're going to be examining the question. Not sure how to put this. Was Muhammad's mother a whore? Something along those lines. I won't call it that. I won't call it that because I want to be sensitive to people's feelings. But Mary Hart believes she has a really solid case that Muhammad's mother was actually a prostitute. And she thinks that explains a lot. I haven't seen the evidence. I can think of a couple things that would okay. I could see why someone would say that. Mainly, as far as like the things that lots of people have heard, that she was supposedly pregnant for 4.5 years, and that was needed to make Muhammad like legitimate with his family connections. Like, oh yeah, I've been pregnant 4.5 years. That's why, and so yeah, Muhammad is your relative, so you guys got to take care of him and provide for him and so on. And it's like, okay, something's going on here. Something's going on here. But anyway, Mary believes that she has quite a bit of evidence that Muhammad was the son of a streetwalker.
Hmm.
We're going to check that out. Anyway, I pointed that out because it's interesting, the comparison that you have Muhammad saying that Satan touches every child born in the world, but couldn't touch Jesus, couldn't touch Mary. And so they're in a completely different category from everyone else. But notice, according to that hadith, every child born into the world, Satan touches the child. Guess what? There are children being born all day, every day, which means and it's all around the world, all around the world. So right now, there are children being born in the United States. Right now, right this second, there are children being born in China. Right now, at this second, there are children being born in Australia. Satan is in all those places. What's that mean? It means that Satan is omnipresent. He's everywhere. So Satan is everywhere. He's omnipresent, and Allah's not omnipresent. Allah has to run around real quickly. That's some weird stuff. And then think, I mean, and then in addition to that, Satan's not only like touching every child who's born into the world, he's also like sleeping in people's noses and peeing in people's
Yeah.
ears all over the
Hmm.
place, and he's everywhere.
At the same time. Hmm.
Weird. It seems like Islam really seems like um, something that Satan came up with to make people think that they're actually following God, but he just can't help bragging about himself. I mean, just can't help it.
Hmm.
Let's see. Bless you for your work. One Momo plus one Al Zut plus one Al Zut equals one. I might have to, if I ever remake my video about the one plus one plus one equals three, where I give examples and stuff, I need to make this. So think about one Muhammad plus these men of Al Zut. From last stream, BDSM is a three-part acronym. BDDSM bondage. Just why are you telling us all this dumb sadomasochism? I learned from my time among furries. No one wants to hear that. Issa looks beautiful today. That'd be a first. At what age do children start to fast in Islam?
Well, I would say consensus, like within Islam, it's usually like 7 years old. A lot of them end up starting fasting. but you have to
So
fast.
when they become grandparents.
Yeah, when they become grandparents. Other than that, it's like usually when they become great grandparents is when they're forced to fast, is when they hit puberty, when they become great grandparents. So yeah, that's when it's needed. But they try to train you young, and yeah. Mhm.
Not sure. What is this? What's your opinion on Rum Orthodox? Do you know them? Do I know Rum Orthodox? No. I don't even know what you're talking about. Hold up.
What's a rum orthodox? Is it a brand of rum?
Because if so, holler at your boy here. Oh, okay. Rum
Oh,
Orthodox refers to Eastern Orthodox Christians in Turkey, in Arabic speakers in Turkey who follow Byzantine Rite, traditionally associated with the Roman. That's what I would guess. Um, Roman and Byzantine Empire. They are largely Arabized in the Levant, but maintain Greek liturgical traditions, often linked to the Patriarchate of Antioch. Yeah, so I don't know why you'd be interested in my opinion on something when I just heard about it for the first time.
yeah.
Let's see, a couple more, and then we're done here. Uh, three in. Oh, ain't no
Ain't no
party
party.
like an Al Zut party. Momo say. It's very rude, guys. This is a serious stream. Dio, it almost sounded like you said Satan can be everywhere at the same time, or maybe I misunderstood. Satan is not omnipresent. He goes to and fro seeking who he can devour. But yeah, hey, my grandpa called me Flip. We're talking about from an Islamic perspective, right? So we're talking about according to the Muslim sources. They'll say Allah can't enter his one. They'll say things like Allah can't enter his creation; it would not befit His Majesty. That's just something completely made up. The Muslim sources, Allah is constantly, flying back and forth really, really quickly. So you've got that. Then you've got Allah in the fire and so on. The point is, Allah is not omnipresent in Islam. Satan in Islam, not Satan according to the Bible, Satan in Islam. And that's a problem people have. A lot of even Christians, they think of Satan as like an evil version of God, like he's everywhere and he's constantly. Satan, Satan doesn't have any divine attributes. Satan has zero divine attributes, guys. We're pointing out that in Islam, if Satan is in all these places simultaneously, if he's touching a child here in the U.S. and touching one in, I hate to be talking like this when we're talking about Islam. We know Muhammad liked to touch children and so on. We're talking about a different sense, guys, different sense. Satan kind of like brands every child who's coming into the world with his touch. Every child is being born, Satan brands him. But Muhammad said, couldn't touch Jesus, couldn't touch Jesus. So anyway, we're pointing out you have the Muslim sources where Satan's in all these different places at the same time. Well, guess what? If Allah is not omnipresent, but Satan is, it's like Allah doesn't have a divine attribute, but Satan does. That's what we're talking about. We are not talking about Satan according to Christianity here. And then that's a super sticker. Thank you. Allah doesn't see you drink under a roof. Allah not powerful, simple. Many such examples. Even so, come Lord Jesus. And finally we have, hi David, could you check out Lloyd? I have never understood how to pronounce that name.
Lloyd
I
or
know how to
Did
pronounce
John?
Lloyd.
Oh, I
It's
don't know. Did John.
because I've never heard anyone pronounce the name. So I don't know if it's DeJong or DeJong or DeYong or guys, who knows how to pronounce
DeJoe.
that? And don't lie to me. Who knows how
It's
to
Lloyd
pronounce that name?
DeJoe.
Let's see. Hi, David. Could you check out Lloyd DeJong here on YouTube the playlist Islamic Terminology Explained? It's very well informing about Sharia. I just want to share information. Beyond that, God bless you. I would be interested in that. I know that guy is a deep, deep thinker. Someone said De Young. Oh, oh, people are saying the Young or De Young. No, we got the liars. Wang, Young, De Young, De Jong. All right, all right. We got these dogs. All right. I'm not asking you guys any questions ever again. You brought that on yourself. Never asking any of you anything ever again. Let's see. This is harsh, medically speaking, for a growing child whose body and everything going through fasting is not good, to say the least. Unfortunately, I'm not surprised, though. That's Ida. Yeah, I guess the idea there would be if you're 7, your body's still growing. Your body's still growing and you need your food. Fortunately, it's not, they're not going a ton of time without food. So, and then Sahih Muslim 161D, Allah is shaitan according to it. Check this out. Sahih Muslim 161D. Book of Faith. Yahya reported, I asked Abu Salama what was revealed first from the Quran. He said, oh, the shrouded one. I said, or recite. Jabir said, I am narrating to you what was narrated to us by the Messenger of Allah. He said, I stayed in Hira for 1 month, and when my stay was completed, I come down and went into the heart of the valley. Somebody called me aloud. I looked in front of me, behind me, on the right of my side, and on the left, but I did not see anybody. I was again called, and I looked about, but saw nothing. I was called again and raised my head, and there on the throne, in the open atmosphere, he, i.e. Gabriel, was sitting. I began to tremble on account of fear. I came to Khadijah and said, wrap me up. They wrapped me up and threw water on me, and Allah, the Exalted and Glorious, sent down this. You who are shrouded, arise and deliver warning. Your Lord magnify your clothes, cleanse. So, I guess the idea there is Muhammad saw, and it's Gabriel on the throne, but if that's actually someone else. And then condemning Momo Imam keeps bringing up morality. Yeah, weird times.
Can I bring something up real quick, though, on the context of body and health and fasting? There is that legitimate one for children, and then there's also the biological one when it comes to women. See, women are not allowed to fast during Ramadan. You're not allowed to touch the Quran during not Ramadan. When they have their period, so they can't fast during Ramadan. They can't they can't pray. They can't touch the Quran. It's like all of a sudden you're not just separated from like everything else. It's like you're separated from God Himself, right? Or Allah, not God. Because you cannot pray or fast during Ramadan, you have to go ahead and repeat, like make up those days. So whatever days you missed after Ramadan and after the Eid happens, those the feast days, you have to make up those days. A lot of women don't want to do that. So what they end up doing is like they take kind of herbs and stuff to try to hold their biological clock when they're supposed to get their monthly situation, their period, and so that's how bad that it is. It's like they end anything like that. It's like it's once they have something that Allah already gave to them according to them, it's a burden. So dudes, they could just do whatever they want, and then you also have that burden on women on that side of the world. So yeah.
And I went ahead and pulled up one of the hadiths about this issue, but this is Sahih al-Bukhari 304, narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Once Allah's apostle went out to the Musalla to offer prayer. Then he passed by the women and said, O women, give alms, as I have seen that the majority of the dwellers of the hellfire were you. They asked, why is it so, O Allah's apostle? He replied, you curse frequently. Pah! You're condemning women for cursing frequently? Have you seen Muslims on X lately? Mr. Muhammad? He replied, "You curse frequently and are ungrateful to your husbands. I have not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you. A cautious, sensible man could be led astray by some of you." The women asked, "O Allah's apostle, what is deficient in our intelligence and religion?" He said, "Is not the evidence of 2 women equal to the witness of 1 man?" They replied in the affirmative. He said, "This is the deficiency in her intelligence. Isn't it true that a woman can neither pray nor fast during her menses?" The women replied in the affirmative. He said, "This is the deficiency in her religion." I always, like the first thing I ever noticed, this is when I first started like reading Hadiths and so on, like how circular that is. Islam says the testimony of a woman is worth half that of a man. And then so Muhammad says, "Hey, you women, you're stupid." And they say, "In what way are we stupid?" And he says, "Well, your testimony's worth half, your testimony's half as reliable as a man's, isn't it?" And they go, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, see, there you go." Well, think about it. Wait, it's you who's saying that. You're the one saying that a woman's testimony is half as reliable as a man's. And then you say, women are intellectually deficient. They say, "How are we intellectually deficient?" Because, "Well, your testimony is half as reliable as a man's, isn't it?" They go, "Yeah." Like, okay, it's Muhammad. You have to believe Muhammad in order to believe Muhammad, right? So, hey, if you don't believe this thing I'm saying, I've said this other thing that's along the same lines, right? Okay, well, there you go. There's the proof. But it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the fasting. You women are deficient in religion. How are we deficient in religion? Well, you have your menses and then you can't fast or pray, right? Isn't that true? Yeah. Oh, okay. So there you have it. You're deficient in a religion. Wait a minute. These are both claims by you. The same guy is making both claims. So you either just accept everything he's saying. You either just accept everything he's saying, in which case, why are you questioning anything he's saying? Or you think that his claims can be challenged, and if his claims can be challenged and you can demand evidence for what he's saying, then him just saying another thing doesn't help. That doesn't change anything, right? So he's saying this thing, you say, "Why that?" "Well, there's this other thing I'm saying." Okay, so it's weird. It's all circular. Weird stuff going on. All right, let's get back to Ramadan. So, doesn't sound like you're a huge fan. Doesn't sound like you were a huge fan of Ramadan, but you pointed out that you spent several years married to a Muslim man who continued fasting for Ramadan, and you have other family. You have other family around during this time.
No,
So just him.
I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Even on my side, like it's just yeah. hmm
No, I mean, while you're married, while you're married, it was just you and him.
I have my kids, but that's really it.
Okay,
hmm
so that's your Muslim family at that point.
hmm
So, um, what was that like? So you're spending years. What's it like when Ramadan rolls around?
Do you understand the it's like you ever have something in front of you you really don't want to do and you're dreading it, but it's inevitable, so you're just gonna deal with it anyway? That's what Ramadan felt to me all the time. It's like even the days like I would have to like remind myself constantly. I was like, listen, Allah is a doesn't exist. It's not like he created this month. All right. So it kind of to me, I was like, I was making it. I had to. So I just had to just go ahead and just follow what my God wanted me to do. But that was like really hard because that's when again I'm repeating it. He remembers that he's an actual Muslim, where he actually because he didn't pray. Um, the only times that I've seen him pray were doing there's this prayer that I don't know if Shia do it, but Sunnis do it. It's called the istikhara prayer, where you pray that right when you want to do a big decision in your life, and whatever feeling you feel after you're done with it, like whatever thought you have and the feeling that you have, you think that it's Allah is telling you this is what you're supposed to do. Only seen him pray that prayer maybe 2-3 times, other than the prayers that he does during Ramadan. Like throughout the rest of the year, he never prayed the 5 daily prayers. So that's what I hated, and that's when like it always felt like Islam was in the house, and the constant feeling of, all right, I left Islam, but now I'm still dealing with it though. It's still around me. That kind of idea, and trying to explain, at least to my kids, which they're good, they're smart kids, and then living a life where I'm still trying to be a good wife. This is still a soul that needs to be saved, at the same time not showing any kind of approval for what he's doing. That was the biggest thing that was for me. I did never like that. Like that was the biggest contention and everything, is like I did not want him to even have an iota of a thought that, hey, maybe Sarah's good with this. Maybe there's an agreement here. I always tried, like, it was hard. You could always feel the passive aggressiveness that came with it, but like I wasn't gonna give any kind of leeway. That was like have any kind of idea that maybe this is what Christianity, and she's okay, or maybe there's, because there was that history that was there, so he still tried to think that he could manipulate me back into Islam. I think I explained that in our, like, when I gave my testimony video. So that was like, so that last Ramadan was very interesting, but I have that reel to try to drag her in, and then me trying to push back. I think that was the hardest.
That's
Yeah.
that's interesting, because that's something that's what you were talking about a moment ago. That's something that lots of ex-Muslims who aren't completely cast out by their family. Like I've seen people leave Islam who, like, their family's reaction was, you're basically dead to us until you return to Islam. Don't come back here until you return to Islam. Then you have the families who try to win you back to Islam. So they'll try to connect you to various Dawa guys that they think are going to be very persuasive and so on, and talk to this Dawa guy or talk to this scholar and so on. Nabil's dad took him like to scholars, or like in multiple countries and so on, who were supposed to answer his questions and doubts about Islam and win him back to Islam. But at the end of the day, he was still connected to his family. He still had a relationship. Nabil still had a relationship with his family, and so you have people like that who they still want to get along with their mom and dad. In other words, he would still want to be a good son to his
Mm-hmm.
mom and dad, and he would still want to be a good brother to his sister, and a good uncle to his sister, to his sister's kids, and so on. So he still wants to be a good family member to his family members, and so doesn't want to be disrespectful, but also doesn't want to come across like he's affirming
Mm-hmm.
these things. And so that can be kind of tricky to navigate there, that whole
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
Um, so like when Ramadan is coming up, like when you're still married, when Ramadan's coming up, is it like, oh no, Ramadan's coming up, darn, this sucks?
Yeah, because that's when you already feel isolated to begin with throughout the rest of the year. That's when you feel even more isolated. You already feel when it's not Ramadan, it's like there a feeling that a wife should never ever feel around her, like around her husband anywhere. Like, my husband's ashamed of me, you know. There's that double dose of that during Ramadan. It's like that shame thing, where, because during when you have that, you have like nobody was invited to our house because I was an apostate. You know, there was that shame situation that was there.
Oh,
But
the
like,
kind of embarrassment.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that was also something with. I mean, it
Hmm.
sucked. Nabil's parents eventually like moved because they moved to a different state because it was just there was such shame like
Hmm.
in the local community. You're the parents whose son left Islam,
Hmm.
and it's just we don't even want to be we don't even want to be around this because of the shame. We want to like flee to somewhere else, and so it is yeah, really rough. So you're pointing out that it's like that like Ramadan. Your husband doesn't want to invite people over with his apostate
Yeah.
wife there.
And he's invited, and there's that whole idea. And you already know, the community already knows that I left Islam. And I try to delete from my mind that maybe there is, like, during all those years, that there is a ulterior motive to my now ex of why we're still married. I was like, no, no, this is like the devil talking. I'm not. Let me just continue on going on. But because when you're in that community, is everybody knows everybody. Like, if you sneeze, they know, and all of a sudden people overseas know that you sneezed, and how loud you sneezed, and when you sneezed, and who was around you when you sneezed. So there's a lot of that's going on, and I'm like, they're right in the middle. Yeah,
And this is
that was.
a lot of people don't like understand like how like this issue of shame. It's Muslims don't really have a concept of someone examining the evidence and concluding that Islam is false. So when someone concludes that Islam is false, leaves Islam, it's like it's the people around you's fault, right? Like
Hmm.
that's how it is. So like people would frown upon Nabil's parents. You did a bad job, even though I mean, guys, I come from a massively dysfunctional background. Nabil had an awesome family. Like I was like, whoa, that's what families are supposed to be like. It was kind of a weird situation. Now, to be clear, my family would my family would fight to the death to protect someone in our family. Other than that, there's lots of drugs and people ODing and people like just violence and abuse and so on, and just massively dysfunctional. So seeing like a really solid family, like whoa, yeah, hey, that's pretty. Because keep in mind, guys, it's my family all my life, and then prison, and then I got out of prison, and then and then I'm hanging out with Nabil and stuff like that. But anyway, but when someone leaves Islam, when someone's child leaves Islam, it's you did a bad job parenting. Not you did a actually you did a good job parenting and your son wanted to pursue the truth wherever it led, and even if it led away from Islam. I would regard that as like good. Because it
Hmm.
wasn't him like just, hey, I'm going to rebel. I'm going to rebel against Islam and I want to rebel against my parents and so on. It was, I mean, he struggled with that for years. For years, he had loyalty to his family, but he also wanted to know the truth about God. And so I look at that and say, you guys did a pretty bang up job raising your kid if he's willing to, you know, face what's coming after him, face uh, death threats and things like that. But they look at it as, up, your son, you didn't do a good enough job showing your son why Islam is true. And so you did a terrible job. But seems like the same would apply to a husband if his wife leaves Islam. Like, what? Seriously? You get married and then your wife
Hmm.
leaves Islam? What kind of crap job were you doing?
Hmm.
What kind of terrible job were you doing as a husband if the impact is that your wife left Islam?
Hmm.
Anyway,
That's it.
point there is you can understand why someone would be like, I don't want to invite anyone over for this.
Yeah.
But then that seems like that's a rough situation because now you've got a husband who's like, ashamed of his wife,
Mm-hmm.
that seems like that would be a pretty messed up relationship. Like
Mm-hmm.
your wife is ashamed to you because, and whereas I'm thinking like, what are you talking about? You had your wife, she saw that this is not true, and so she left it. Like that's 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 good. I mean, in theory, if they were able to drop this idea of, oh, Islam is so clear, it's proven by the perfect preservation of the Quran and the scientific miracles, they drop that stupid idea. The Quran over and over again tells the polytheist, hey, don't just follow the religion of your family, man. Don't just follow the religion of your forefathers. No, you need to look into this and you need to follow Islam. And so in theory, it's saying, don't just believe what's been passed down to you. You need to look into this stuff for yourself and go where the evidence points. Now, what they kind of don't, what the Quran didn't count on is okay, well, fine, I won't just follow the religion of my parents and so on. I'll actually look into this for myself. Oh, actually, Islam is false, and that Muhammad's the most obvious false prophet in history. But anyway, that would have to be a difficult situation of a husband being ashamed of his wife because she left Islam when that's really frowned upon in Islam, because it can't be the evidence. It would just mean you're evil somehow, or you've been duped somehow, or you're just bad and you don't want to follow it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It wasn't until a few years, like years later. This was like when we were like already divorced. Um, I had a conversation with him, and we were talking about the religion, and it's like his at least one thing changed in his mind, at least during those years. It was, oh, women just don't leave Islam just so they could be whores. So that was like, so I told him, I was like, do you want at least understand this concept? And I remember him just standing, and he was like, yeah. So I'm like, at least that changed. But yeah, but during Ramadan, that was very difficult. It was that the spiritual warfare to there. It was like I used to smell smells that was not happening that reminded me of Ramadan growing up while my grandmother was cooking.
Hmm.
So it was strong. It was like, you ever read, like it felt like I was in my own, how you brought up screw tape letters many times, how you feel like, the demons, and you're like figuring out how to torment this person that's over there. It was like my own little screw tape book where
Ah,
the
interesting.
yeah.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, so you're kind of like you left Islam, but in a way you're kind of still you're kind of attached to it. You're kind of stuck in the house with it. And
Hmm.
then how are demonic forces using this situation and so on. So you mentioned kind of little debating this issue, but did arguments and so on sort of ramp up during Ramadan?
He tried to avoid a lot of religious talk with me, like a lot of religious talk with me, and there was even
Is,
times where I
is
would
that his is
confront.
that his personal preference, or is that just because it's you?
He said, because you have an answer for everything.
Shame on
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Like he was like, that's it. And I remember there was this
You are
one
too
time.
smart. You are too smart, and you know too many things. Shame on you. I don't talk to you. I will not talk to you anymore.
Yeah, there was one time he just like flat out said it. It was like he just had you have an answer for everything, and gave up and started scrolling through his phone. So it was very difficult. Like I would have to be the one to tell him, it's like, what you believe is true, and if I don't believe it, I'm gonna go to hell, and vice versa. Why am I the one more concerned? Why aren't you concerned? Why aren't you talking to me about these things?
Hmm.
And then he said it again. It's like, because you have an answer for everything. Or he'll say, I'm not learned, I'm not educated in these things. And I would tell him, but then why don't you be educated in these things? So we could have discussions on these things. It's like I asked him, it's like, go get educated in Islam more. Go. So we could have, and it
Yeah,
didn't
bring
happen.
it.
Like not
Bring it.
during he didn't do no dawah to me during Ramadan or nothing. I guess his mind was like, if you hear the Quran really loud, me reciting it, it's like you're gonna hear the beauty of it, which that was like one of the many answers that he would go ahead and tell me. It's like, oh, honey, how did Muhammad know honey was medicinal? I mean, like the ancient Egyptians used it. It's like,
See, this is the proof that the Egyptians are always right.
yeah.
Uh, that's a that's kind of another situation that I hear over and over again, but in a different context. It's normally like normally when I'm hearing these things, it's a son or a daughter who left Islam, and then they're having to, figure out how to continue having a relationship with their parents. This is different. This is husband, which it's I guess in a way it's better because your husband's not like it's not like your parents, right? Like
Mhm.
if the husband bolts, then you don't have any connection to him. Whereas you always have a connection to like your parents or your like brothers and sisters and your kids and so on. Um, but that kind of situation where someone leaves Islam and then at first the family members will want to like try to win you back and try to
Mhm. His
answer
mother tried.
answer the
His mother
objections.
tried. He would go and visit, like this was like the very beginning. His like he would go and visit, and he will come back with like the house prayer thing to go prayer and Islamic books, and that was tried, and it didn't happen. I ended up using those books against him.
Yeah,
So,
but that's the pattern, right? It's, oh, this
Mhm.
person just left Islam. Uh, must just be some ignorance. We'll just go ahead and answer the objections and respond and so
Mhm.
on, and that'll win the person back. And then they do that, and they realize, oh, it's actually we are the ones who can't answer what this person is saying. Why?
Mhm.
Because guess what? I mean, you can have someone who just leaves Islam because he's just rebelling against his parents. It might not be any actual reasons. It might not be any, oh, I examined this and I've concluded that it's false, and so I'm not following it anymore. Um, but you have the ex-Muslims who, no, I looked into this, and all your reasons that you taught me all my life for why I should believe in Muhammad, they're actually completely bogus. It's a bunch of nonsense. So um, I looked into this. I think all the evidence is against him, not for him. So I'm not going to follow him. I'm not going to spend my life following this guy. And they think, oh, I'll go brush up on my Dawa and show you the powerful evidence for Islam, and then don't realize the ex-Muslim very frequently has thought through all that stuff, right?
Mhm.
They thought about all this stuff. They thought about all these arguments, and they concluded that they're wrong, but they know why they're wrong. And so if you bring them up, now they can say, actually, that argument's bad, and I'm going to explain why. And then they get in a situation where we don't want to talk about this anymore. But that's over
Mhm.
and over again. It's the Muslim family that eventually gives up on discussing these things, and it's the ex-Muslim going, "Hey, let's talk about this stuff. Hey, I want to let's get to the bottom of this." And then it's, no, 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 we don't want to talk. We don't want to talk about this. So it's like, wait a minute. This is, according to Islam, this is a heaven and hell difference. This is a heaven and
Mhm.
hell disagreement. Reminds me of what, when you were talking, it reminded me of what Penn Jillette. So Penn and Teller. Um, Young people might have no clue who Penn and Teller were, but I started seeing them in the 80s. They were magicians. They were magicians and illusionists and things like that. And but they made it funny. They made their show funny. But Penn Jillette, for years they were both atheists. They still are, as far as I know. But Penn Jillette, this is probably like 15, 18 years ago or something like that. He said he has no respect for people who don't proselytize. So people who don't try, Christians, like he said, if you're a Christian and you do not try to preach to me, he said, I have no respect for you. If you believe that I'm in rebellion against God and I'm going to be judged and I'm going to hell, and you don't preach to me, like you don't even care. Don't I
Mhm.
He says, I have more respect for the Christian who's telling me to accept Christ than I do for the one who doesn't say anything. And it's like there's something really true about that. If you guys believe that Islam is true, And you're like, we don't want to talk about this because you're doing too good a job answering what we're saying.
Mhm.
It's like, well, you either believe that there are answers out there are arguments out there that I can't answer, in which case, if you really care about Islam and you really care about me, you should be out there spending every waking moment trying to figure this stuff out. And if you're just like, no, I mean, do you even really believe this stuff? If you think that one woman can't, one woman is, there's nothing you can
I'm a
do.
half brain. Like, come on.
That's the rough part. Someone who's into you answer everything. Okay, well, if I answer everything, how's that possible? How's that even possible given what your prophet said about women?
That doesn't that prove Islam wrong right there? False.
Um, another question. So as far as this is an awkward situation. It seems like it would be an awkward situation for a new Christian to still be married to a Muslim, and that's like your primary. That's like where you're kind of located. You're in kind of a Muslim area, whereas lots of ex-Muslims, it's like they'll go see like Nabil would go see his family and so on.
Mhm.
Um, but he's usually around Christians, but you're still in
Mhm.
like a Muslim man's home. So
Mhm.
what was how did all of that affect you trying to grow as a Christian when you're in a Muslim kind of environment?
Oof. um, Complete and utter dependence on God. It's like I could go now look at like hindsight being 2020. God sustains. God will like he'll go ahead, through the shadow of death, he'll, man, I am so embarrassed right now of being a Christian. Why did the verse escape my mind in the Psalms? You see, this is the power of Islam.
Islam is very strong.
Yeah, that's what Muhammad said that fateful night on the night of Al-Zut. But but anyways, no, serious talk. This is a serious stream. Come on. Um, no, for real. God had like the complete and utter dependence and constantly trying and attempting not to lose hope. That the amount of times, like with each Ramadan and each Christmas. So it was during Ramadan and Christmas. I would go ahead and I would like have very similar prayers but like opposite. And I was like, okay, God, like, how long do I need to deal with this? How long do I have to go ahead and endure this? You made this be the last Ramadan, and may the next Ramadan we fight and demolish Islam together. And, and Christmas will be like the opposite, where I don't have to, where I would actually want and openly go ahead and put on cross ornaments on my Christmas tree, and have a nativity scene. That's like one of the things I always wanted, and now I can. But like these kinds of things, I could only go ahead. It's like God has taught me because I did still during the when it was time for him to break his fast, for him to finally feast on his food, this trans fasting. Um, I would still give
Right?
him his.
We do want
Yeah.
everyone to know trans fasting is fasting.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah. I would give him his 3 ajwa dates that he would go ahead and break his fast with. I'll put it and I'll do that, and I wouldn't even eat a meal, okay, until he ate. I'm like, I would still have my coffee in the morning. Like, I'm sorry, you want to suffer, but I still felt like, okay, if I drank my coffee and he broke his fast, it's my fault. So there's that weird relationship dynamic, but I still did those things while he ended up not becoming a Christian. It still taught me how to serve those that will still view me as my enemy. It's like, you know how, like, so you could easily say, Jesus said, love your enemies. But how does that look? I think that what God has showed me through all of that stuff was how to love your enemies. And even after the whole divorce situation that we had at the end, it was like, this is what you're supposed to do. But anyway, I see a question.
No, I mean, no. What you're saying is interesting. I have to say, it reminds me, and this is what I think about a lot with Islam when I think about things that, like, I became a Christian in jail. I could have told my family that I became a Martian Buddhist, and all it would have mattered to most of my family is like, okay, are you going to stop doing really messed up stuff now?
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of the situation. Like, anything that will make you stop being so screwed up, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but anyway, the point there was there was no cost, there was no family cost to me becoming a
Mm-hmm.
Christian.
Yeah.
Whereas for other people, there's a cost. There's a cost to becoming a Christian. For Muslims, it's a big cost because you're told all your life that if you say Jesus is Lord, that's the worst possible sin. That's shirk. You're going to go to hell for that. You have to give up your family, and oh, by the way, there's this death penalty thing where they're going to, if they ever get their way, they're going to chop your head off. And so there's this huge like psychological pressure that lots of people aren't familiar with, or if they are familiar with it, it's like a seriously diluted version, right? If you leave Christianity, your family might like get really annoyed at you and want to talk you back into Christianity or something like that. But I mean, come on, no one's gonna you don't you're not seriously like think you don't seriously have to think about someone coming to kill you and so on. You don't have that sort of thing. Um, but anyway, when I think about Islam and the various pressures it puts on people, I think it's way more similar to like what it would have been like in the early centuries of Christianity. Whereas, if you decide you're going to follow this Jesus guy as the Messiah, you're Jewish. Well, you might be giving up your family. You might be giving up your
Mm-hmm.
family, and they might want to get violent over that sort of thing. Or when you're among the Romans, then all of a sudden it becomes a problem among the Romans because the Romans required that you had to honor Caesar as as a god, and
Mm-hmm.
they gave the Jews an exemption. They realized these guys are never going to do this. These guys are never going to do this. So they gave Jews a special exemption. And at first, it applied to Christians because the Romans viewed Christians as a sect of Judaism. And so at first it applied too, but then, like non-Jews start converting and so on. Eventually they're like, oh, this is a different category. No, wait, no, these people have no such exemptions. Oh, you don't want to burn incense to Caesar? All right, we're going to snatch you up and we're going to toss you in we're going to toss you in the Colosseum and make you fight some lions and so on. So that's very similar in that you're converting to something that is going to put you in danger. It's going to put you in danger. It's not it there's a cost. There's a cost to converting.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a plus side to that as well. It's costing you something. You're having to endure things. So what is meant to like suffocate and stifle you is actually making you stronger
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it's costing you something. You're having to endure things, and it's making you a stronger, better Christian.
Yep. And now Allah's worst nightmare, I would like to think, or at least getting there. Yeah.
Hey, we should get you, Hatun, DOC, a couple of others. And say who is Allah's worst nightmare, and we can debate that out. The question, hey, the question here. This is connected to what was going on earlier. What percentage of Muslims eat? Now, you obviously don't know Muslims all around the world, but basically,
Yeah.
in your experience,
I
what
know all
percentage?
of them. Every single one.
So, in your experience of Muslims you knew, what would you say?
Mm.
What percentage of Muslims eat secretly in the bathroom? So, and I guess if they're doing a good job of it, you wouldn't even notice, right? If people are actually being careful about sneaking around, you wouldn't see it. But
I
what would you
can't
what would
really
you
think.
estimate?
I think the only ones that I knew openly that snuck around were my brothers. And I that's it. I don't know. I think I think this goes back to the whole hypocrisy thing. Um you won't openly let anybody know that you're not fasting. It's and it definitely won't be in the bathroom because I don't know, maybe you're not allowed, it's forbidden for you to eat in the bathroom, so it won't be in the bathroom. But I would imagine a lot. I can't picture. It's very difficult for me to believe every single Muslim that's claiming to be Muslim. I mean, claiming to be fasting is actually fasting in reality. So I don't know, but I know they exist. But it's not in the bathroom because the angel stays outside the bathroom. The only person with you in the bathroom now is the evil jinn. So you can't eat in the bathroom. Doesn't this sometimes, this religion sound like something that was made up by an older sibling to torment his younger siblings?
It kind of sounds like that. It also kind of, a bunch of the stuff sound like it was a religion made for like 4-year-olds. It's
By
like,
4 year olds.
it's like, oh, pee pee, oh, poo poo, Satan, he pee pee in your
Muhammad's
ears.
potential wives.
Hmm. Yeah. I need to make up a religion that my this 4-year-old I'm interested in is gonna understand. Hey, did you know Satan pee pees in your ear?
Did you know you have a bad jinn on your left and then a right good jinn on your right side, and then they all whisper in your ears and see which one you're gonna listen to, like it's in the Looney Tunes? Yeah.
Here we have Apologetics Roadshow. What is the reference about following parents' religion? Well, there's a bunch of those. Um, Hang on. Give you a couple here. So Surah 2, verse 170. It's asking the polytheists why they're following the religion of their forefathers who didn't have understanding or guidance. Surah 5, verse 104. Surah 31, verse 21, Surah 7, verse 28. So check out those passages. But yeah, that happens over and over again in the Quran. Why are you following? Because that's what people would say. Muhammad comes along, hey, follow me. You got to follow me. And they're like, what are you talking about? We got the religion that we've been taught all our lives. And it's, well, that religion's wrong. Don't follow something just because your parents followed it. Don't do that. Whereas now you've got Muslims around the world. What? You're telling me to follow something other than what my parents taught me? Yeah, we are. And
Yeah.
weird situation. Let's take a couple super chats real quick because one of these, I didn't understand this earlier. So this was before. Condemning Momo, Imam keeps bringing up morality. Yeah, I didn't know what this was about. And the follow-up makes it clear. You say, what do I say, though? He keeps asking on what moral judgment when I condemn Momo for being with Aisha. They talk about moral theology. What do I do? So it sounds like you're saying you point out that Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl, and then they say, well, what is your basis for condemning that? On what basis do you condemn that? And it's very simple. It's, you shouldn't needlessly harm another person. Got that? You shouldn't needlessly harm another person. There are situations where you might harm another person. If you lock someone up in prison, okay, you're taking away that person's freedom. Or if you punish someone in various ways. You don't want to needlessly harm someone. And when you're bringing this up, you ask them that. You say, okay, is it right or wrong to needlessly harm another human being? It'd be interesting to hear them say, oh no, it's totally fine. It's good when you needlessly harm other people. That would be weird. It'd be weird. But if they defend that, then, Wait for them to try and defend that. Most people would say no, you shouldn't needlessly harm other people. Okay. At that point, if you can get them to agree to that, then you can just bring up medical research and so on. It's not hard to find. Just look up the effects of having sex with a 9-year-old girl, and especially if she becomes pregnant. That's the concern. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. Puberty is a process, right? It starts, and it's a process that takes several years. And during the time when puberty is taking place for a girl, this is the time when her hips are widening, when her birth canal is widening, and so on. She can get pregnant before that process is completed. In other words, she can get pregnant before her birth canal has widened and before her hips have widened. And it's extremely dangerous for her and for the baby. So why would you not just wait until she is fully developed? Why? What's the point? In other words, if you could have sex with your bride after she's fully developed, in which case the risks are significantly reduced, or you can have sex with her at a time when the risks are massively elevated, both to her and to the baby, why would you go with the more dangerous one? So that's
People that ask questions like that, they act like they've never seen a 6-year-old girl before.
Mhm.
Like even that question. It's like, can you compare a little 6-year-old girl next to a grown man? Open up a biology book, maybe. The idea, like the excuse of like, well, why is it wrong morally? Why should we go condemn a grown 56-year-old shoving himself into a little girl for when she was 9? Why is that wrong?
Yeah, so this is on the one hand, it's a legitimate issue to bring up why something is wrong. If you say, "Hey, don't do this," and you say why,
Mm-hmm.
and so there you're in the realm of what's called meta ethics. Like, what is it that grounds moral claims and so on? But you can also flip this. It's like, okay, why shouldn't I torture old ladies for fun?
Mm-hmm.
Ask them. Prove to me that I shouldn't torture old ladies for fun. Why shouldn't I do that? And then you start getting into some of their rules. Well, guess what? At the end of the day, you'd hope that they just, okay, well, you shouldn't do that because it's bad to pointlessly harm old ladies with no good reason. Something along those lines. But guess what? Christianity is more principle based than rule based, right? Islam is all rules, and if Allah didn't give you a rule, you're just under no obligation to follow anything. Not a lot of principles. In Christianity, you got principles to go with. Principles. So, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's a principle. That's not giving you some rule that applies in some specific situation. It's a principle that can apply in all kinds of situations, even if you don't have some sort of specific rule. In other words, if you were to ask someone who's a Christian, who believes in that principle, the golden rule, hey, well, why shouldn't this 54-year-old man have sex with this prepubescent 9-year-old girl? Think, okay, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If I were a prepubescent 9-year-old girl, would I want some creepy, smelly, old, Heaven's Gate looking pervert climbing on top of me? No, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want that at all. Okay, well, don't do that to someone else. But the principles in Christianity are Islam doesn't stand up well. Islam doesn't do well if you apply those principles, Christian principles from Jesus himself. But I can't think of a moral meta-ethical theory. I used to teach philosophical ethics. So you've got the different moral theories. You've got consequentialism, that would be most people who the most common form of consequentialism that people might be familiar with is utilitarianism. You have deontology, you've got divine command theory, and so on. Um, Islamic teachings don't stand up well under any moral theory. The only thing they could point to would be a strict Islamic view of divine command theory where they don't, if Allah hasn't told you something, then there's no reason to think it's wrong. And so you basically want to challenge them on that moral theory. That's a really, really screwed up moral theory. That if Allah hasn't told you something, then you can't know that it's wrong, or can't have any basis for thinking that it's wrong. It's a weird theory, weird model. Anyway, roll with some of that. Think through it, and always flip things back on them. If they say, "Well, prove to us that a 54-year-old man should not have sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl," it's like, okay, why do you think that's a good idea? Why do you think it's a good idea to put little girls needlessly at risk? Why? Why do you think that's a good thing to do? Why would God do that? Anyway, lots of directions you could go with that one. I guess what Jesus said, whoever loves family more than Jesus, when Muslims come to Jesus and drop their family, they really love Jesus and truth. Yeah, that's the flip side. So I pointed out there are all these obstacles, but there's a positive to that. And that it's when a Muslim says, yep, I've been told all my life this will get me sent to hell, and I may have to give up my entire family, and this may get my head chopped off, but you know what? I want to know Jesus anyway. That's someone who's probably on their way to becoming a pretty hardcore Christian. What is this? How do I tell new Western Muslim converts about Islam's evils? What do you think about that?
Tell them you'll get two different types of Western Muslim converts: those who didn't know and believed the lies that they used for the Dawa, and they attracted them into it, and then they'll just leave, which a lot of those types of converts do end up leaving. Like, they didn't know these things. They really thought Islam was just a religion of peace, and it just gives you a guidance to organize your life, and and just keeps you away from doing these bad things that may harm you, you and the people around you, and they don't really know anything about Islam. And then you have the other types of converts to Islam that, this is what Islam teaches. Why I agree with it. And if I have the chance, I would go ahead and implement this. There was a woman, ex-Muslim woman that I spoke to. And she was like, first of all, she flat out said, she was American. All right. She flat out said that freedom of speech is overrated. If there was a good Muslim man that would be able to take care of her daughter she was older than this now, she would marry off her daughter at the same age that Aisha was. And that was after she said she would give her daughter to Muhammad at that time. She's like, why? In a heartbeat. So there are the implementation, the laws for apostasy. She was like, yeah, I would have that implemented. It's like number one is like, hey, so there's two different types. You could either get that or that. That's not gonna say it's like all these converts in the West is gonna see all these terrible things about Islam and be like, oh, we don't want nothing to do with Islam. That's it. We're all gonna leave. No, there are those who are gonna be like, yeah. And Tawheed.
Yeah, it's pretty much like clockwork. If you see someone converting to Islam, it's there's a couple main reasons. One is Chris Rock talked about this. Still want to make a video about this, but they make it hard to if you can't find it on YouTube, if you can't find the clip on YouTube, they make it hard to record clips from Netflix. I can do it, but I have to break out a special device and stuff like that. And then they constantly update their stuff Keep in mind, it's totally legal to take clips and respond to them, and that's called fair use. But they make it hard to do. But anyway, Chris Rock, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, he had a comedy show, and he was pointing out that like we've created a culture that is addicted to attention. Like individuals are addicted to attention, and then he breaks down different ways to get attention. He said there are four ways to get attention. He starts talking about the different ways to get attention. Like one of them is to be the best at something. Like if you're the best ball player, whatever it is, if you're the best at something, well, guess what? You'll get attention. But that's the one that takes by far the most work. That's the hardest one to actually become really great at something. That's really, really, really difficult to do. And then he goes through some other ways and just, take your clothes off. Okay, you'll get attention like that. So he's talking about like going in the OnlyFans direction or something like this, or the, just social media, putting your body all over social media and stuff. Start talking about that one. But one of them that he points out is be a victim. So if you can be a victim of horrible oppression and so on, you can get quite a bit of attention for yourself if you do that. Now, the interesting thing about Islam is converting to Islam is a path to instant attention and instant victim status. And so you have some people who are converting just because it's like a cool thing to do on TikTok or something like that, or Andrew Tate did it. And it's not people who examined any sort of evidence. It's just here's a cool thing to do, and I'll get attention instantly. And simultaneously, if anyone criticizes me, they're persecuting me because I'm a Muslim. So you have people like that where it's not examining anything. It's not about evidence. It's just a quick grab at attention. And you have influencers who do this, because if you're on TikTok, guess what? All of a sudden you can convert to Islam and you get a bunch of new followers who are praising you for your awesome new path and so on. And then you make sure you just do everything online. So you have people who are converting, and it has nothing to do with believing any sort of arguments or anything. It's a quick attention grab. But you do have people who convert to Islam because they believed what some Dawa guy told him. Right? They believe what a Dawa guy told him. So the Dawa guy came along and told him about all the powerful evidence and about the miraculous preservation and about the scientific miracles and so on. And the person said, wow, this must be true, and converted to Islam. Okay. Those people 100% of the time have been fed a bunch of complete nonsense. So the real question here is, how do you show these people what they just got themselves into? How do you show them that? It's actually pretty easy. Learn to ask questions. So I made a video about this. It's titled something like "How to Share Unpleasant Facts with Pleasant Muslims." So these are people you're not, trying to tick off, right? Sometimes we're just trying to tick people off because people are acting like jerks and so on. If you're actually you see this person is converted to Islam. You're like, what did this person not do any bit of research here? Did he seriously not investigate this? Because if he had seriously investigated this, he would not have been converting to Islam. So what do I do here? But anyway, I've got a video there where I talk about some of this stuff, but think about the difference between, hey, your prophet, after this person converts, hey, what are you doing following a pedo? What are you doing following a guy who molested a little girl? What are you doing following that, right? Notice the difference between that, where a new convert probably doesn't want to talk to you if you're coming at him or coming at her like that. Think about the difference between that and getting the same information across, but in a different way. So think about the difference between, hey, your prophet's a pedo, what are you doing? Versus, oh, that's interesting, you converted to Islam. I'd be interested in your perspective on this issue that lots of people bring up. Lots of people bring up Muhammad having sex with a 9-year-old girl. And I was wondering how you made sense of that, because now that you're a Muslim, Muhammad is the pattern of conduct for Muslims. So how do you kind of reconcile that with the historical information about his relationship with Aisha? There, you're not even attacking. You're not even blasting away. You're asking this person for information. And it's probably something the person never thought of. But these new converts will have an eagerness and a willingness to try to defend their religion. And so if you're asking for information, then all of a sudden they're going to start looking it up. And guess what? Let them respond, right? Let them respond. Oh, yeah, because they're going to go look it up. They're going to go to stupid Dawa sites and lame videos and stuff. And then they're going to say, oh, well, you know, it was because Muhammad saw the potential in Aisha or something like that. Or they might even go like dumber than that. Oh, but actually, she was 21. She was 21. If you do the math and you put this source together with that source together with this and that, and then they might read a stupid article made for dumb people. So the point there is you can ask a question that will cause this person to try to defend Islam and might make this person start looking into this. And then they're going to get back to you. And you say, oh, okay, thanks. Thank you for that. I was interested in what you thought about that. Then later on, come back and say, hey, you know, you were saying it was because Muhammad saw the potential in Aisha and saw that she was going to be a great scholar and so on. Just wondering, and then follow up with that. And then whatever they respond, okay, thank you for responding. And then you just, over time, you keep bringing up more and more things that this person definitely didn't hear from the Dawa guys, right? Because they're given a totally skewed view of Muhammad that doesn't include anything accurate about Muhammad. So in theory, in some ideal world, when someone comes along and preaches Islam to you and tells you you have to build your life around this guy, you would think that someone would say, okay, I really need to investigate this guy first before I build my entire life around him. Sadly, people don't. Oh, really? That's why I should convert? Okay, let me do that. So what you're doing is you're kind of helping the person do the investigation they should have done before they converted but didn't do. So how do you do that? How do you help a person who should have done this research but was instead gullible and just believed the Dawa script? How do you help that person do the research he or she should have done but didn't? That's what you're looking to do. So anyway, my thoughts on that. A couple more. David, I think something is wrong with your camera. Your skin is looking very pink.
You look normal.
I know I look normal, but this person here, okay, I can adjust there. That better?
Oh, yes.
Am I looking
Very
pink now?
less-
Am I looking pink now, Pendragon? All right. Everyone wants black and white D Wood. Man, I'm super late. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
You could have done like Sneeko and eat on camera.
Accidentally.
Oh, yeah. And make sure it's wasn't that pork ribs or something like that?
Yeah.
Oopsie. Thank you for having this live stream. Not many Christians realize the challenges and loneliness ex-Muslims like me face in order to follow Jesus Christ. Yeah, and that's why we're having this discussion. It is difficult, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can be difficult. Again, this would, if someone's in the West, then they're around lots of Christians, lots of non-Muslims their entire lives and so on. If your family's Muslim and so on, all of a sudden you're not following that, then I don't know, that's your family. That's your family that you're now at odds with. And that can be some difficult times. God sets the lonely in families. He leads out the prisoners with singing, but the rebellious live in a sun-scorched land. Based. Ramadan, no. Ramadan, yes. Momo would have agreed. And I wish you could equip us atheists more. Adore you.
I'm equipping you with the gospel.
Oh, hey, that's interesting. Oh, okay, so this was the question earlier. What do I say, though? He keeps asking about what moral judgment when I condemn Momo for being with Aisha. They talk about moral theology. What do I do? Okay, so that's interesting. This is from an atheist perspective. So this is an atheist saying, hey, what's up with your prophet having sex with a 9-year-old girl? And so they would respond to an atheist by saying, how do you decide what's right or wrong? How can you, on what basis do you condemn sex with a 9-year-old girl? Yeah, that's kind of, that is kind of an issue. Like in other words, that is a question for you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
on what basis do you condemn something as wrong? So either you'd have to come up with an answer for that. It's on this basis that I view something as wrong. And they're going to ask you to defend that. But I would probably stay on offense and say, what are you guys saying? Do you Muslims? And you can even pull this card. You can say, look, I'm an atheist. I'm an atheist and I'm looking at what you guys are saying. Are you guys saying that it's okay to needlessly endanger a young girl, to endanger her life and the life of her possible offspring? I'm an atheist. Maybe I can't explain exactly why I think this or that is wrong. But are you guys seriously telling me that according to your religion, it's perfectly acceptable to needlessly endanger little girls and babies? Is that what you're telling me? So there you're not saying, here's my moral theory, because if you say, here's my moral theory, then, well, you better be ready to defend your moral theory. But if you didn't want to lay out some sort of moral framework from an atheist perspective, then just flip it on them. At the end of the day, they don't want their religion to look bad. And so if you're saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm looking at Islam. Are you guys really the religion that says it's perfectly acceptable to endanger little girls and babies? Because if so, I want nothing to do with this stuff. Then kind of see what they say. I'd kind of go in that direction. But yeah, thanks for clarifying what background you're coming from, because that kind of changes the situation. Like if it was a Christian saying it, it's like, okay, well, I'd point out to them, hey, you guys claim to follow Jesus. Here's what Jesus said. But anyway, yeah, different situation. And here we have Ida. I'm sorry, I'm going to say something sensitive. I wonder if somebody ever did a study on people who convert to Islam, how many of them have some kind of personality disorder, etc. Put it in nice words, seriously, scientifically interesting. That would be something. Like when you're looking at the public reverts, like I can't say about people who just decide at some point to follow Islam or something like that, or they're in college and they're looking into various things and they decide based on the Dawa script that Islam is the path for them. There, it's just like gullibility. Being gullible doesn't mean you have a personality disorder. But lots of the people who are like online and they go, they instantly, hey, I'm on TikTok now because I just recited my Shahada. Now I'm going to take you through my entire journey and so on. It seems like there's a lot of narcissistic personality disorder, and Islam is just an easy path to attention for narcissists.
Oh, yeah.
Histrionic personality disorder. It's weird. Years ago, I thought that if we could just get a bunch of Dawa guys who are narcissists and psychopaths, that they would destroy the religion for us. What's weird is couldn't get the psychopaths. I don't know. They almost all ended up being narcissists, like all the Dawa guys that were, sort of nudging into positions of prominence. Never figured that out, because back when all this is being planned to destroy Islam, I figured it'd be roughly even, because these are the guys who, your narcissists and your psychopaths and so on, those are the people who will, those are the people who would do well at Dawa. But so I would have thought it would have been roughly even, but it's almost all narcissists. Seriously weird. But yeah, that would be interesting, Ida. All right. So we'll be wrapping up. We'll be wrapping up soon. But there are other people who are watching, right? So there are people who are watching who may not have left Islam, but they may in the future. There are people who are ex-Muslims now. your situation was with your husband, although a lot of it seems to apply to ex-Muslims in general, just with family in general, not just with a husband. But what advice would you have for everyone who might be going through something similar?
For Muslims that want to leave Islam, is that what you're asking, or just in general, in a whole?
I'm talking about, so it's like different situations. So one, you might
Mhm.
have women who've left Islam, but they're still
Mm.
married to a Muslim husband, or could be different situation. Could be a an ex-Muslim man who's still married to a Muslim wife. That's a different situation. I have heard it. I have heard it before, but
Mhm.
usually that marriage isn't going to last because the woman's not
Yeah.
supposed to be married to a
Hmm.
non-Muslim. So normally someone's going to break that up. Although I have seen that continue because the woman doesn't take it seriously enough to follow that, but she still believes in Islam. So you have that kind of situation. So anyway, you have people who are you have people who want to leave Islam, but they just don't want to ruin their families. And so they actually
Yeah.
continue pretending to be Muslims around their families. And you have people who will do that their entire lives. You have people who do that
Yes.
their entire lives because they don't want to upset their family. But then you have the people who are officially ex-Muslim, but they still
Hmm.
have to, figure out how to do their best to get along with their, let's say, husband or with their family and so on. Um,
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna pull up a Bible verse that came to mind. I think, where is it? I need Matthew. Mhm. Okay, I'm gonna before I read. Oh, my gosh. Okay, you know what? I like Bible Hub. Hold up, it's less confusing for me. All right, there we go. Um, Jesus in Matthew 10, starting at verse 34, said, let me go ahead and scroll. I think this is important. And I had to, like, this is a Bible verse that I had to remember constantly. Is like, this was actually a verse of encouragement, me, like, since I left Islam and dealing, like, with all of this stuff. So, Matthew 10, verses 34 down to 39, it says, "Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter in law against her mother in law, and a person's enemies will be those of his own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." This sounds like somebody's like, this is like scary and hard to me. Again, this was a verse of great encouragement because I knew who was saying it, and he wasn't saying it as like, oh, we're gonna go ahead and go to war. I'm like, there's an actual war, spiritual war, that is truth and lies. And Jesus says that I am the way, the truth, and the life. I mean, we could just look at, there's disagreements throughout history. It's like you could just view the world how things are going. And this shouldn't really be surprising. Like think about Thanksgiving dinners when you're sitting, you see these people's like, oh, Thanksgiving dinner, just don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion. Why? There's gonna be disagreements. So this really shouldn't be such a controversial passage of scripture if you just take it as it is, reading it. Um, the reason why I say so, there are, looking back, I wish I had somebody to give me advice on how to do these things. I think I would have used a lot more wisdom maneuvering through situations. Um, especially for women who are married to Muslims. First of all, if you're a Christian, don't marry a Muslim. That's stupid. Don't do it.
I was gonna ask you about that because that's
Mm-mm.
I get that horror story pretty much wherever I go. I go speak at a
Don't.
conference. There's almost always someone who wants to talk to me about the situation she's in, or it could be man or a woman talking about the situation like their sister or someone is in, but it's always very similar. It's I fell in love with a Muslim man, or my sister fell in love with a Muslim man, and um, tried talking to her. She won't listen. He treats her like a princess. They're so madly in love, and so on.
And they have a
What
baby.
what do I tell her? What do I tell her? And it's just after years of hearing the same story and seeing the same results over and over again, I eventually got to the point where, hey, go ahead and try and show her that this is a bad idea, but you're probably not going to be able to do it. You're probably not going to be able to do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so she's probably just going to go ahead and marry the guy and so on. And it's probably going to be later when she finds out the problem.
Hmm.
And yeah, as you pointed out, usually when she gets pregnant and then the family jumps in and all of a sudden it becomes an issue of how is this child going to be raised? And they, at that point, they want the child to be exclusively raised as a Muslim, and then there's way more pressure at that point for the woman to become a Muslim so that there's no confusion ever for the child. And then
Hmm.
if you don't want to do that, then all of a sudden they either want to take the kid away and something like that. And that's when they start, if you're here in the US, then they'll start saying, hey, let's take a trip back to Pakistan, or let's take a trip back here to
Hmm.
greet the family, when they actually have other plans in mind and so on. And so, like, I'll tell people, it's like, sorry, just based on experience, again, try everything you can, but based on experience, just people aren't in the right state of mind to carefully consider your reasons. They're in love with someone. And so it got to the point where I'm like, okay, what you should probably be focusing on is letting her know, once she finally realizes what a disaster this is, what does she do from there? In other words, hey, I can tell nothing I'm saying is convincing you that this is a really bad idea and that this
Hmm.
is eventually going to go downhill really fast. But when that happens, here's what you do. Here's what you do. So it
Yeah.
becomes like dealing with the aftermath.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry. I just wanted people to.
No, sometimes people can just, the only way some can are able to learn is learn the hard way, unfortunately. Like, you could have all the warnings and all the advice around you, and you're not thinking with reason, you're not thinking with logic, you're not thinking about your future, you're thinking about the now and how you feel now, and that's how you get yourself in trouble. But for the, let me just go back to the one that was like, because I know this it happens a lot. There's going to be a Christian woman who became a Christian while she's married to a Muslim. And I think this could be applied with anybody, like any other marriage. Just like you get married and you have an unbeliever, but like I just specifically within Islam, because there is this real spiritual fight that ends up happening, and it's there in your home. You leave it spiritually. Spiritually, you're free. Spiritually, you're made right with God, but then there's still outside forces that come after you, like from the outside in. Um, I admit I was very naive, through this whole thing. Is like I had um good optimistic thoughts about how things were looking, how things were, like, it's like God loves marriage and he's going to preserve this thing no matter what it is, so I'm going to keep on uh just what I thought was me obeying God during the whole time. I did not use, for somebody who always asked God for wisdom, I didn't actually have that much wisdom being in the position that I was in. I still put myself, as long as I showed myself still being a submissive wife, still listening, but still putting my religion at the side, because either way, he acknowledged that he thought that my Christianity would just be a phase, and he didn't think I was going to take it seriously. So, and then that's what happened. Um, when you find yourself in that position, make sure you don't have this worry about you don't what's going on around you. I found myself trying to protect him more than me actually caring about my own growth and my own future, and ignoring what God has been trying to call me to for so long. I looked at my marriage. Sometimes this can, for women at least, uh, we want our families to be happy. We want our families to be healthy. We want to make sure our husbands are happy. And especially if you're a Christian, you're going to look at what the Bible says about wives, and you're going to try your best, especially double, when it comes, if your husband is not a Christian. You're going to try, because now you feel like all eyes are on you, which, while you have good intentions, saying that you are obeying God, what you're essentially doing is making your marriage and your husband an idol over your life. That's what you want to avoid. And I'm going to admit that's what I did. So when things ended completely, that's what ended up causing. I had a lot of anger and wrath after that God had to put me in check for. And you want to avoid that. So that's my main advice. Do not look at him as your some type of idol. You may think no, but it is. You gave your life. You're picking up your cross in that marriage, like in the verse that I said. That is it right there. But you have to follow Jesus. That would be my advice for the woman. For the husband, it would be the same thing. I think it would be the same advice. Because a Christian husband still is going to want to follow God and obey God. Like, what did Jesus say? What did Paul say about husbands and wives? He has to give up his life for a wife. He's supposed to love his wife as he loves himself. Like, I'm not a dude. I don't know exactly how that looks, but he's going to want to love his wife as he loves his own self. I think that could be a danger at times too, if you have an unbelieving wife, holding her up as an idol. Just follow, like literally, like, follow. You want to obey God, but you, in your mind, are you obeying God, or this is all like some kind of like, yeah, that's it. Just, you can't save people. Get your you're a tool in God's hands to deliver his truth and live righteously, but you can't save nobody. And once you realize that about yourself, this weight comes off of your shoulders. God is the one that does the saving. So, yeah.
Yeah. As far as us not being able to save people, that's I haven't looked into the details, but Mary Harp has said that that's something Muhammad wrestled with his uncle. He wanted his uncle to convert to Islam, but he never did. And she said, if you line up, because you got these passages that make it sound like it's up to us, but then you have these other passages which sound like Allah has decided everything. Allah's decided everything. He decided whether you're going to go astray, and he's decided whether you're going to be guided. Mm-hmm. So it's not on you. She said that if you actually line them up, it's before Muhammad's uncle dies. The passages are generally, it's on us. It's on you to. It's your decision, and it's on other people's. It's on other people's task list to get you to convert to Islam. And then after Muhammad's uncle dies, Muhammad's all broken up because, what, did I just fail? Did I fail at this? This was on me and I just did a bad job. And so Muhammad's ashamed. And then suddenly it switches to, No, no, what are you talking about, man? Allah decides who. Allah decides who. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Allah decides who's going to be guided and who's not going to be guided. That's not your decision. In other words,
Mm-hmm.
it kind of lifted that off of Muhammad, lifted Muhammad's
Mm-hmm.
burden off of him. It wasn't that he did it. He wasn't. It wasn't that he wasn't persuasive enough. It's that Allah just didn't want his uncle Abu Talib to be saved. But yeah, that is even though Muhammad had to wrestle with that. Um, yeah, guys, we do what we can, but ultimately, people, it's that's
Mm-hmm.
between a person and God. And so, who is your ultimate loyalty to? Is it towards your husband, or is it towards God?
Mm-hmm.
Is it towards your parents, or is it towards God? And that's what a lot of people struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Muslims struggle with that. Like, hey, I want to follow something else, but my goodness, look what this will do to my family.
Yeah.
That's what Nabil said. The first discussion we ever had, hours, went all night long. Not in the Zut sense, but we actually sat there discussing Christianity and Islam all night long, and I let him do most of the talking. Because I like to ask questions to find out what people are at, where people are at, and what their reasons are, and so on. And then, like, after he had fully gone through everything he believes about God and Muhammad and Jesus and the Quran and the Bible and so on, and after he explained his reasons for believing this, it's the miraculous preservation of the Quran and the scientific miracles and this and that. Then I asked him, yeah, I have a question. If you're wrong, do you want to know it? He said, but I'm not wrong. And I said, yeah, I didn't ask you if you're wrong. I said, if you were wrong, would you want to know it? And he actually just sat there thinking. And he said, yes and no. He said, yes, I would want to know the truth about God, but no, because it would destroy my family. And so I kind of saw right there got this dual allegiance,
Mm-hmm.
here. I want to be faithful to God. I also want to be faithful to my family. And that's the situation lots of people are kind of stuck in. Now, Nabil, at the end of the day, he was more loyal to God than he was to his family. But guess what? From an Islamic perspective, in theory, you should be. Your ultimate loyalty should be to God. But in reality, Islam demands that, nope, just follow what your parents taught and don't question it. So a lot of people in awkward situations.
Yeah.
One final little thing, because Christians also have holidays and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Any any thoughts on comparisons? Is it kind of the same boat, or has Ramadan affected your view of Christian holidays?
Oh no. Um, I don't know why it wouldn't affect my view in that because Christian holidays have to do with Jesus and all the other fun stuff like trees and presents and stuff is just extra that's involved, you know? And I just like for me and my house, uh I we don't really do the if you've been bad, you're not going to get any presents. I really try to make it Jesus like. It's like we were bad, yet Jesus died for us on on the cross. He gave us the greatest gift, and we don't deserve it. So that's how I would make that for like them growing up, and so and even like with Easter, it's the resurrection of Jesus. So it's like technically every Sunday you should be celebrating the resurrection of Jesus, but we just make it even louder on Easter. That's it. So it's just Jesus. So that would be the difference. Before would be continuous, like in during Ramadan, it'll be us, me. What am I gonna eat? Do I have onions? Do I have this? Like food. Who are we gonna invite and all these things? It's not really about Allah, which right now it's like the last 10 days of Ramadan right now. So if you like failed at being, nice and giving gifts and stuff, it's okay. You have the last 10 days of Ramadan where everything is like perfect right now for you. It's like you can make it up then. Um Christmas and Easter and all the Christian holidays is literally your eyes are directed towards God. You just ignore the commercialization of situations. Who cares? Which I think it's pretty cool because they still acknowledging Jesus, and instead of Christians getting upset about it, just use it as a gospel conversation. It's like, hey, I see that you're buying Easter stuff. Do you know about the resurrection? Are you a Christian? Christians, so you just use it to your advantage, and that's it. Hmm.
We have this question. Why is David monochromatic? Yeah, that's because people are habitual whiners here. There are people who are habitual whiners and complainers, and they demanded that I be in black and white. Otherwise,
Hmm.
I'll look too pink for them. Um, Karen Fisher said, Apostate of Allah, your video on being a Muslim wife during Ramadan was enlightening. Thanks. Yeah, and everyone,
Yeah.
you can check out Sarah's, again, link to Sarah's channels in the description box. And here we have, can't even get baptized over here. A lot of trouble being an ex-Muslim.
Hmm.
That
That's
is that is kind of an issue, being in certain parts of the world. Shino and Shania, so Somali ex-Muslim TV, they talked about the difficult situation because they're online, but they're preaching to people in like Somalia, and some of those people in Somalia will convert to Christianity, but there's no local church. There's nothing. Like, what do they do now? Who's everything has to be online, right? They have to be discipled online. Everything has to be online because there's nothing there. Anyway, they got to the point where they were doing baptisms online, right? They're like, okay, you go over to some water, and you're sitting here and you got your phone, right? And you're talking to them on your phone, and you're going over to some water, and they're saying, okay, now go down to the water. We baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and so on. But yeah, we have Islam causes a lot of problems, and we have to come up with creative ways to get around the situation. So, yep. If there's no if you're in a situation where Islam makes a lot of these things difficult, yep, just going to have to do some of the things online. Might have to go to church online, might have to do everything online. All right, last couple of super chats here, and then we'll head out. What's this? That awkward moment when an atheist realizes that their worldview is just as indefensible as the Muslim worldview. God bless you, Sarah. Are you Masri? That means Egyptian, right?
I'm half Egyptian, yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Got that. And I'm sorry about your family dynamic, Mr. Wood. What are you talking about? My family dynamic is awesome. What do you mean, man? My family dynamic's awesome. Well, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, if you mean when I was growing up. Yeah. Well, sadly, everyone is dead. I have one brother. So I had a brother who died of an overdose. My mom died of an overdose. My surviving brother, my brother who he has OD'd before, but went to prison. I was always like, it was always mixed. It was always a mixed bag when he'd go to prison because like, now he's going to spend a couple years in prison. That sucks, but at least he's going to be clean for that time. Anyway, he's doing well. So we made sure. I told him while he was locked up. I said, you can't go back out there, man. You can't go back out where you're eventually going to run into your old friends, and you may stand strong for a while. Eventually, you're going to have a bad day. And just one time for old time's sake. And that's when you're right back into it. And I said, you got to get completely out of there and be around people who don't do any of that stuff. Anyway, so he actually paroled here. We had to work it all out. It's actually hard getting people to parole to another state because that state has to approve of it. The other state has to approve of it. You have to deal with the parole board and everyone else and get everyone's approval. But we did all that. So I am now the oldest member of my bloodline. I'm almost 50, but I'm the oldest the oldest member of my bloodline. But as far as the people who survived, everyone's doing pretty well. Everyone's doing pretty well right now. So, in other words, my family dynamic's okay now. And I was just telling my son, Luke, it was either yesterday or the day before, but I was saying, okay, we've got kind of a lot of screwed up stuff in our past, but it's kind of all gone, and we get to be the ones right now who decide like what our family stands for, and like what our family traditions are and things like that. And I was like, and we have the ability to do all this right now for future generations and so on. So, yep, that's what we're
Look
focusing
at
on.
God.
Hmm?
God's awesome.
Yeah.
God's awesome. Yeah.
You know what's wild? What's wild is like the context we were discussing it in is we both want to like do some woodworking. I did it when I was younger and stuff like that, and he wants to do it. And I was like, well, let's start woodworking and stuff. And hey, our name is Wood. And I was like, and let's teach your little brother. He's got his youngest brother is 7. I was like, and let's teach him. Matter of fact, let's all make sure we do woodwork. It's like, what? Why can't we? Why can't this be the things that we do instead of drugs and everything? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so. And then, amen, Apostate of Allah, commercialized Christmas still points to Jesus. Mm-hmm. And we have David Wood, the family patriarch, like Joshua. Yeah. And, all right, that's about it. Any final thoughts on anything before we take off?
No, that's it. Just don't convert to Islam. That's dumb. And you know better. And that's it, really. Yeah. I don't know. This is the awkward part where you're supposed to say at the end.
Yeah. All right, guys. So anyway, thanks to Sara for sharing that with us. You know, lots of times we're just focused on arguments and exposing Muhammad and so on, and we're not thinking about like the difficult times that people have going through all this stuff. So good to hear from it. Good to hear about that stuff, and good to hear advice for other people who are either going through that now or maybe going through that in the future and so on. So, yep. All right, everyone. So got the link again to Sara's channel in the description box. Check out her videos. She does live streams and she makes videos. So check out her channel. Subscribe as well. And apart from that, in theory, I'll be talking to you all tomorrow with Mary Harp, who's going to lay out her case for why she believes that Muhammad's mother was, in fact, a prostitute. So that's where we'll be heading tomorrow. Catch y'all then.
That's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, and I'll have links to her articles where she shared all this. So if anyone wants to start cranking out videos or sharing that information or challenging your Muslim friends online and so on, could be a fun and exciting topic. Could be a fun and exciting topic for 2026. And Ida here says, thank you, Sara.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ida. All right, catch y'all next time.